One of the most common questions that I see dropped in Facebook forums and other online memberships is, how can I advertise to get more students? We see this question all the time. And here's the deal with this. When we start focusing on how we can advertise to get new students, we are missing a big part of the marketing pie because advertising is just one single slice. And a successful marketing strategy is something that is going to tap into so much more than just telling people that you have spots in your studio. So today, what we're doing is we're looking at the difference between advertising versus marketing and where music teachers normally get lost in this process. So if you are excited to learn about this, let me know below whether you are watching live or on the replay. We are here to learn out loud together. And we've got many marketing tips for you today. Plus, we've got the Savvy Sara bot set up to go. But before we get to all of that, hey, let's get a little fancy. Welcome to the broadcast, everyone. My name is Sara Campbell. I am a business strategist, marketing, and mindset coach for music studio owners and online education experts just like yourself. And I go live here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about those topics. And today we're focused on marketing and advertising. So if you have been asking yourself, how can I advertise to get new students? I think you're going to really like what we have to talk about today. As always, I have the Savvy Sara bot set up to go. So if you want to drop the word marketing below, she's going to send you the show notes from this broadcast and give you a recap of everything that we've talked about. And she's going to give you something else, which I'll talk about in just a moment here. So we love to learn out loud. So if you're here, please be sure to say hello and let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're joining later on in the replay, know that I love to come back and learn with you. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the conversation. If you find something that is really valuable to you, give us a hashtag takeaway and let us know what that is. It's a great way to set your intentions, put them out into the universe, and actually say to yourself, hey, I'm going to put this into practice. So good morning to Karen and Maggie and Craig and Pete. Pete says, I like pie. Yeah, we're going to talk about pie today. If you have a teacher friend who you think could benefit from joining us in this conversation, now's the time to let them know about this. Bring them on in with us because the more, the merrier. All right, so let's get to it. Advertising versus marketing. This is something that I love to chat about because I think we often confuse the two terms, that we think that, well, advertising is marketing and marketing is advertising. Well, it's partially true. Yes, advertising is a form of marketing. But if advertising is the only form of marketing that you're using in your studio, well, you're really missing out because here's the deal. Advertising is only one slice of the marketing pie. And if that's the only slice of pie that you're handing out to your audience, they're going to get a little bit bored. So let's start examining the different types of marketing that we can do in our studio and how we can have a whole pie strategy rather than just a single slice. All right, I see that Julie's tuning in and she says, hi, Sara, I love marketing, and Laura's waving. Good morning to you both. Nice to see you. All right, so let's get down to it, shall we, guys? Are you ready? Let's do this. So, advertising. Let's just define these two things. Advertising, the act of advertising, is making the offer. It is telling somebody about a product. It's telling somebody about a service. Now, if that's all you're posting on your Facebook page or Instagram account or Google ads, whatever you're doing, if the only thing that you are focused on is making the sale, then people have a tendency to tune you out because they don't really understand what your business is about. Yes, they understand that you might offer piano lessons or voice lessons, but what they're missing is the full picture of your brand. And that's where marketing comes into play. So a good marketing strategy is going to focus on brand building. So let's kind of define what we mean by this. So when I say brand building, it's telling people about why you do things, how you do things, and like what you offer. But if the only thing you're doing is focusing on, hey, we have space in our studio for new students, then that marketing message becomes advertising. And if all you're doing is advertising, people quickly will tune you out. So let's focus in on how you can develop a better marketing strategy. The first thing that we need to understand is that both marketing and advertising require us to actually understand our audience. So I'd love for you guys to be learning out loud here and putting things into practice. I would love to know, who is your audience? Who is your ideal client? Do you know who that is? If you know who your ideal client is, I'd love for you to share that with us. So when I'm talking about ideal clients, I'm not saying, okay, I teach piano lessons from ages 2 to 102, which is a great catchphrase. I think it's super cute. But if you're just using that as your identifier for that audience, then you're missing out on what makes you unique as a studio, because there are many teachers out there that will accept all ages for whatever instrument they teach. However, if you can position yourself in a way that really hones in on what specifically can you help people with, what are your specialties, if you're not doing that, then you're missing out on connecting with the people that you help the most. Okay, so this is a great example. Maggie, great. 4 to 6-year-old beginning piano students. That is a great niche, right? Because there are tons of people that are in that age group. And if you market yourself in that way to really speak to the parents of the 4 to 6-year-olds, then you're going to have a stronger position with your brand. And when they think about that neighbor that they have who's 4 years old and their mom has talked about, oh, so-and-so's thinking about piano lessons, they'll say, oh, you know what? I heard of somebody who specializes in working with 4 to 6-year-old, right? Yeah, and again, Maggie, great. So you've seen a need for this market, that that 4 to 6-year-olds have a tendency to get turned away from some piano teachers. So there's a need in the market, and you've niched yourself down. That is fantastic. Craig is saying that it's the ideal client is a family who has 2 to 3 children who are passionate about music. I like that as well. Very good. So both advertising and marketing require us to really know our audience. And this is something that a lot of teachers and studios miss out on, because they forget to sit down and figure out, who is my ideal client and who do I really want to speak to. So if I hadn't niched down to say, okay, I work with music teachers and online education experts, and I just kind of talked in general to say, I just support music teachers or all music teachers, then I might actually be speaking to the wrong people. Classroom music teachers are typically not the people that I serve best. And so, for me, niching down was an important part of figuring out the marketing strategy. The same thing's going to happen with a music studio. You have to figure out who you're talking to first. Once we figure out who we are talking to, then we get to really tap into what is good marketing. And one of my favorite marketing models, it follows the why, how, and what. So let me define this. Okay, so this comes from Simon Sinek, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. This is something that I work with one-on-one clients, and also with the Branding Bootcamp. We focus in on what is the why of your business, and that is something that most people miss. Why do you do what you do? Not, I'm a piano teacher, I provide, piano lessons. Why do you provide piano lessons? What are your big motivators? What are your big whys behind what you do as a music teacher? So what's interesting is that most marketing and advertising strategies focus on the what, and they start with what. So the what would be the lessons themselves. However, if we can flip that model and we can start with the why and then work our way down to the what, we are building a much more successful marketing strategy, because we're building the brand. And we're helping people recognize what sets us apart from other music studios, and we're helping them to get to know us better. So we need to start with the why. Why are you a piano teacher? Why are you a voice teacher? What is it that brought you to this part of your journey? It's a good question. It's a deep question, I know. So I want you to think about this for a second. What is your big why? And if you'd love to share that with us, put it down below. So we start with, what is the big why? Why do you do what you do? Then we think about, how do we do this? Now, the how is really important, and this is something that we don't always focus on in our marketing efforts. So when we're defining the how, we are really getting into like, what is it that sets us apart in the way that we deliver these services? Okay, so let's have an example of that. So let's say that we know I'll give an example of a why. So I'm going to say that I'm a music studio that focuses in on high school students, voice students who want to audition for things like district choir and honor choir and regional choir. So the why behind that would be that I want to serve students who have a really specific goal in mind, and I want to help them prepare for that goal. A bigger why would be that I want to make sure that vocalists, this is something that I've said in my studio, so forgive me. Here's the phrase: I do not train dumb vocalists. I know that sounds really harsh, but let me define what that means. When a vocalist comes to me and they have goals in mind, like nailing on audition or making it to district or state choir, I will let them know, okay, if this is our goal, we need to be a smart vocalist, and here's how we're going to do it, right? So that why is a little extreme, but it definitely gets people thinking, right? So then if I would focus in on, okay, that's the why, the how would be how it's delivered. So to say, I could create a post, with an image of one of my students practicing one of the audition pieces for honors choir, and we could talk about what is happening inside of that and how we are working on it. So let's say that your state may require sight reading for something like this. To say, in our lessons, we understand the importance of creating a strong sight reading technique. And so each week, we spend 10 minutes of our lesson focused on sight reading, so that when this student goes to that audition for district choir, they are prepared and confident that when that sight reading example comes up, they're totally going to nail it. So that taps into the why and it taps into the how. Now, if I were just focusing in on the what, then the marketing would look like, if you want to get prepared for district choir, sign up for voice lessons where we will prepare you. Not quite as exciting, is it? Because it's just focusing on the product or service itself. So what we want to be able to do is use the whole model of why, how, what. I love this. Okay, we've got a great takeaway from Maggie. Maggie says, hashtag takeaways start with why. I love it. Thank you, Maggie. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's keep going. All right. So really good marketing is going to focus on inspiring your clients, inspiring your audience. And this is going to be very different from advertising. So with a good marketing plan, you're going to be focused on inspiring them. You're going to be focused on educating them, providing value so that people can understand your why, so that they can understand your how, and so that when you do make that post that is an advertisement, they are ready to hear about the what. So this is the piece that most teachers miss. They've flipped the model and they've jumped directly into the what, and they've often forgot the how and the why. So really effective marketing is going to focus on all three of those things, and it's going to focus on inspiring our clients so that they understand the type of magic that happens in your music studio. So good, right? If you're with me, give me some hearts and some thumbs and let me know that you are following along. We're going to do a recap in a second here. I see some great things here. Karen says, I love to see the joy in a student when they learn to play piano, when there is a breakthrough and they suddenly love it. I think that's fantastic. Karen, that would make a really great social media post. I love it. Not to mention great website copy. Okay, Julie says, why lessons in our studio are so fun, excellent, and achievable. I post lots showing my students doing this. So she's focusing in on the why and she's focusing in on the how. And I know for a fact that Julie's got a wait list because she spends so much time focusing in on the how and the why that when she does post the what, she's got people knocking at her door or, knocking at her email. So this is great. Yes, there you go. That inspiration part is exactly where it's at. That's where I need to focus on more. Exactly, Craig. It's all about that inspiration. So we're going to do a rapid recap in a second here. Let's get started with that. If you have any questions about the differences that we've talked about, be sure to drop those below. Okay, so here's the deal. When we ask ourselves the question, how can I advertise to get more students? We are missing a big part of the picture because advertising and marketing are two different things. And if the only thing that we are doing is advertising, we're only using one slice of the pie. So this is where music teachers get lost. We think that advertising is marketing, but that's not true. So let's break it down, right? So advertising is only one slice of the marketing pie. Marketing as a whole has so many other strategies inside of it. Let's quickly define them. Advertising, okay, is making the actual offer. It's saying, I have room in my studio. It's saying, if you'd like to get prepared for district choir, DM me and we will talk about the lessons that we offer. But marketing is building your brand. And in order to have a successful advertising strategy, you need to have a good marketing strategy. And you need to build the brand so that people can know, like, and trust you so that when you give that advertisement a go, they are ready to say yes. In a nutshell, both of these require us to know our audiences. So if you don't know your audience and you haven't really thought about who it is that you serve specifically, and I'm not talking about ages 2 to 102. I'm talking about more niched. This is where you need to start. You need to figure out who are you talking to so that way you know what they need. You know what they desire. And then you can start building your brand around those needs and desires. One of the best ways that we can do that once we understand our audience is to use the model that starts with why. We start with talking about why we do what we do, then how we do what we do, and then what we do. The problem is that most marketing / advertising strategies flip this and they start with the what. And they often forget the how and the why. The why and the how are imperative because they are going to allow people to know you, to like you, and to trust you so that when you do make that offer and you talk about the what, they are open to listening about it. So good marketing will focus on inspiring people. It will have things that are educational, things that empower them, things that entertain them, things that provide value to the people that you want to serve the most. And if you can focus on doing those things, then you have warmed people up to make the offer. So if you are making posts on your socials and they are all about contact me for lessons, contact me for lessons, contact me for lessons, here's my challenge to you. I want you to set aside that post and only use it once every 7 posts that you make. And in the other 7, you're going to focus on good marketing and you're going to talk about your why and your how, and you're going to identify that audience that you can serve the best. Now, I see a great takeaway. Advertising does not equal marketing. Bonus points for using the does not equal sign. I think that's fantastic. Okay. If all of this has your head spinning and you're going, oh my gosh, Sara, I don't quite understand what you mean by this, I want to let you know that there's something coming up, and it's really important. Branding Bootcamp is starting on October 1st. And this is where we dig into all of these things that I've talked today in depth, where you'll get to know your ideal clients, where you'll get to understand your big whys and the values that you have in your studio, and focus in on how you deliver things and how you can differentiate what you offer from the teacher down the street. Not that there's anything wrong with the teacher down the street, just that you are different from them. And if you can create a brand that positions yourself in a way that communicates those differences to the right people, you're going to be in a good place. So if you do want information about Branding Bootcamp, let me know by putting a Branding Bootcamp below, and I will reach out to you and we can have a chat. There will be very limited spots this time, and, I would love to save a spot for you. So if you have enjoyed today, I want you to show me a little love and let me know what your biggest takeaways are. What have you learned from this chat about marketing versus advertising? Drop that below. And if you would like to get the show notes from today, drop a marketing and the Savvy Sara bot will reach out to you. She will also show you how to set yourself up for reminders for the upcoming broadcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you found this valuable, then please be sure to tell a teacher friend about it. We do these chats every single week, and we have so much fun when we do them. So thank you all for being here today. I will be back next week. And in the meantime, stay savvy and stay you, because there is no teacher in the world who is quite like you. And I think that you are pretty dang awesome. Thanks for being here. We'll see you all next week.